Hey everyone, welcome back to Mentally Fit. This is Hippie here. Hope you're all having a good day. I'm having a pretty good day. I have my Dustin Stranger Things hat on, so I'm very excited and very happy to be here with you today. So, today I want to speak to you a little bit about negative thinking and intrusive thoughts. This is something that's very common in the mental health community, even outside of the mental health community. So, I'm hoping to be able to give you some tips to be able to get through them, and also just some tips that maybe you can pass along to friends, or just hopefully that it works for you. So, we're going to talk about first intrusive thoughts. What are intrusive thoughts? So, intrusive thoughts are unwanted thoughts or images that you find distressing or disturbing. So, it could be anything like, hey, I think, I'm not good enough, or why did this person not call me back, or anything along those lines. So, it's something that it's just coming at you and you're not able to control it. I know personally when I have intrusive thoughts, it's very self inflicted in a way where it's oh, you're not good enough, and oh, look, you're not where you need to be or where you wanted to be or where you thought you would be, and then it just piles on from there. Oh, you're not a good this, or you're not a good son, or you're not a good friend, and it just ruminates, and it just keeps, again, the wheel just keeps going, and it creates this atmosphere in your mind where it's just pollution and destruction. It's just so full. And you need to find ways to be able to fight these intrusive thoughts and get through them. So, we're going to talk about that some today. So, um, one of the things that we want to talk about is during intrusive thoughts, you need to know that this is something that it's very natural. This is something that happens to everyone. The thing with mental health is that it tends to happen a lot more in our community, and you ruminate on it. And while someone who's maybe not mentally ill can take a situation and not turn it into a big situation, with us, we'll think about it. We'll think about, oh my gosh, why did I do this, or why did I say this, or why did this person say this to me? And instead of it being something that you only think about for 5 minutes, it's something that you ruminate on, and now you're thinking about for hours, days, months later, and you're still feeling horrible about that situation. So it's important to get that under control, because it's gonna be debilitating for you. And you need to find ways to, again, move forward in your mental health journey so that way you can get better and be the best you that you can be. So one thing that we're going to talk about also is flipping the script. So, flipping the script is what I call taking a situation and trying to see the positive in it. They say that there's good in every situation, and I think if you look hard enough, it's something that you can definitely see relevant in any of our lives, in any situation. So I'm just going to give you some examples. I have my puppy Luna. I love her to death. I've had her for about 3 years now, and as much as I love her, she is a troublemaker. This dog is she's a sweetheart, but it's tough. It's tough. So I went to bed and I left my glasses on the bed, and I decided to go to work, and I forgot I left my glasses on the bed. And sure enough, I get home and she almost chewed up my entire glasses. She didn't get the lenses, so I'm gonna see if I can go to the optometrist and see if I can get something done there. But naturally, I'm just angry because I'm like, oh my god, I need these to see. Thankfully, I have pretty good eyesight without them, but it's something that's, you think, oh my gosh, this is going to be hundreds of dollars, and then you start thinking, oh, why did I do this? And then that's when intrusive thoughts, I don't know what I said back there, but intrusive thoughts, that's when they started. And I started thinking, well, it's your fault that you left them there. And then the anger wasn't so much directed at Luna anymore, my dog, it was directed at myself. And then I started saying, well, you're so stupid for doing this. You know that she has a habit of doing this. So this wouldn't have happened had you prepared yourself better. And you need to use your head more. And you need to, again, just these thoughts of you're a failure and all this. And it's like, it was an innocent mistake, right? It was something that could have happened to anyone. Nobody's gonna laugh at you for something like that. It's just a ridiculous thing that happened. It was unfortunate. But what I decided to do in that situation was try and flip the script, right? It didn't happen immediately, and it's something that takes training, right? So the goal is to get to a point where when you have those thoughts and things that you can flip the script, right? You can say, oh, well, I need to do this, or think of something positive or something like that, which actually later we'll talk about is one of our hints, rather, let's one of our tricks, rather, to stop intrusive thoughts and things like that. So, following what happened, it was just really just, again, I was just overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. Um, I don't have many days off, so it's something that I'm thinking, oh, now my next day off, I'm going to have to handle it. And again, I just kept feeling worse and worse and worse. And then I kind of turned the script around and I said, well, I haven't gone to the optometrist in, I would say, about 2 years, right? My glasses work fine, but still, these are things that we have to do. We have to check on our bodies with physicians and our eyes and our teeth, and we have to take care of ourselves. So I haven't gone in about 2 years. So it's something where it's like I started thinking to myself, well, what if this is the thing that helps me get to where I need to get to? So maybe my eyesight isn't where it needs to be, right? Maybe I do need to see an optometrist so that way I can get my eyes adjusted. Um, Not just that, I was looking for new frames and I found really exciting new frames. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, these frames are going to be the new me and my new face. And it just made me analyze the situation and think to myself, there's more than just what I had, and sure, I did like these glasses, but I wasn't in love with them. They didn't bring me joy, let's say, right, as what goes around. um, but it's just it's something where I really had to flip the script and say to myself, well, you know what, as unfortunate as this is a situation for me to get something better, right, to evolve, right. And to me, and immediately the thoughts stopped, and I'm now more invested on, oh, how are these gonna look on me, and then you flip the script, right? Flipping the script, that's what we call it. So again, we're, another situation that happened this week, I bought some brand new house plants, and I absolutely adore plants. What happens? I leave them out, and sure enough, I come home and Luna's eaten one entire plant. Again, I'm just furious. I'm thinking to myself, why did I get into this? Why did I become a pet owner? And I'm sure that parents feel that way about their children. They won't admit it, but I'm sure many of you feel that way about your children. As cute as they are, and I'm sure you wouldn't change them for the world. I actually have a friend who she told me she was wiping crayon off of the walls. So at least I don't have to deal with that. At least I'm just mopping up pee or whatever, and just dealing with all my shit being broken. But then again, I guess you guys deal with that too. But anyway, she ate the whole plant. And again, I'm thinking to myself, oh, you're a failure. Why'd you leave it on the floor? She has a habit of doing this. And then just again, that the rumination, the intrusive thoughts, you always do this, you always mess up. You're not going to be successful if you can't get past these little things. And you start equating things that don't make sense. So I left the plan out, and now I'm thinking, because I left the plan out, now I'm not going to, and I have to spend more money on another plan. I'm not going to have enough money 20 years from now to retire. It just becomes this cycle of ridiculous thoughts that go nowhere. And that's why they're intrusive, because they just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I find that that's why we like people to be direct with us. To, if you need something, ask for what you need, right? We're all adults, right? So tell people, hey, if there's an issue, this is what the issue is. This is how we can fix it together. Not leave it to the person to figure out what they need to find out about you, or why you're angry. It just takes so much more time, and you might not even get what you want, right? If you communicate what it is that you need, you're going to get to a place where you can better understand these things, right? And 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 the other person will better understand what you need, so that way you guys are on the same page and you guys are on the same path, right? So I found that, just when you do have those intrusive thoughts, just try and flip the script, right? Try and think of something positive, or just think to yourself, why am I having these thoughts, right? Not in the grand sense of, oh, why am I having these thoughts, what woe is me, but more of in the sense of, what is it that's making me feel this way? um, so yeah, well, excuse me. Sorry, that's actually the fax machine here, ruining everything. But I'm gonna actually bring up another situation, and actually this will stop right now. Um, I was recently seeing someone, and there was a situation where, again, there was just miscommunications on both people's part. It wasn't solely her fault. It wasn't solely my fault. It was just an unfortunate situation. But because of the lack of communication, it created this atmosphere of not understanding and miscommunications, and that's never good for you when you're dealing with mental health issues, because you need clarity, right? You're seeking clarity to understand what's the next move I have to make, because you don't know how you'll feel from one moment to the next sometimes. So, unfortunately, me and this person stopped speaking, and we went from texting almost every day to the person never texting me, and not checking up, not saying, "Hey, listen, we used to be close, and now now that we're not, you're not a priority." And of course, I, you don't expect someone to continue their life in a way where they're trying to serve you or anything. But if we do know that we're dealing with mental illness, and this person was struggling with their own demons and things like that, it just makes you think we should be able to check up on each other, correct? And at least that's how my mind works, where it doesn't matter what happened between us. If you need a listening ear, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to check up on you. But unfortunately, not everyone sees things that way, and not everyone has the same heart as you, so you have to be prepared for things like that. And what I did was turning the script, again, flipping the script. And she stopped texting, stopped talking, and again, the intrusive thoughts happened. You're nothing. Nobody cares about you. Nobody's ever going to care about you because of your mental illness. And these are thoughts that just, I think, everyone deals with. Is anyone ever going to care about me? So that when I dissociate, are you still going to care? When I'm depressed and I'm not feeling well, are you still going to care? When there's a misunderstanding and I overreact or something like that, are you going to give me the time and space to understand my errors and come to you as a person and say, listen, I'm sorry, I made a mistake? But if you don't afford people those luxuries, and I don't even consider it a luxury, I consider it, almost like a right. Like, we should be able to forgive one another, and to look at one another and see ourselves in that person. You understand, especially when we're struggling with illnesses that are very common, and so many of us deal with it. But what I did was, instead of sitting in that feeling bad of, oh my gosh, this person, here goes another person who just walked out my life. And while there might have been times where there was true the things that I was thinking, like, oh, I feel like, people, my life is a revolving door, and people are in and out, and not necessarily constantly in and out, but they come in and then they leave. And I think we've all had that feeling of almost abandonment and things like that. And it's hard to deal with. It's hard to absorb, especially when things that we feel that are unfair are done to us, like ignoring someone, or things like that. I never think that that's the right way to look at things, because we all struggle. These are things that we all sometimes deal with, whether you have mental illness or not. So I think communication is a big key, and just and any type of relationship or anything moving forward. And it's allowed me the time to think of what I don't want in a relationship, right? So now I know more of what I do want, and I know that I need patience from someone, and I need understanding. And not just that, that words almost don't matter, right? Just because a person says that they're going to be there for you doesn't necessarily that they mean that they will, right? They may say that they understand your illness and your illness isn't too much for them, but sometimes, at least in my experience, I find that maybe it is too much, or maybe we just weren't meant to click, and that's perfectly fine. That's okay, as well. So, we're going to talk a little more now on how to stop negative thinking. And I'm going to give you 3 tips to stop negative thinking. These 3 tips I've all done myself and I continue to do because it really actually helps me get to a place where I can understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and kind of sort it out so that I'm not feeling that way so much anymore. And number one is when one negative thought, when you have one negative thought, think 3 positive thoughts. So, as this is pretty trivial at first. I thought this was something that, oh my gosh, this is never going to work, and this is small, but it's actually helped me to train my mind so that when I fall into this pattern of thinking negative thoughts, I think of 3 positive things. And now, because I'm thinking, I find myself thinking more positive things than negative things, right? So I have something where I say, oh, well, you know, I feel like a failure, right? And then as soon as I have that thought, I think 3 positive things to myself. So that's a common thing for me personally. Oh, I feel like a failure. I feel like I'm not where I need to be. And then I have my 3 positive thoughts where I think to myself, hey, you've lost 60 pounds in a year. You've gotten your weight under control. You're eating healthier now. You were in a very toxic relationship before where you felt like you couldn't say anything. You felt like you couldn't be yourself. And now you have your own place. You have your own car. You have your own, it's yours. You pay for it. It's with nobody's help. And that feels great, and that's something that I remind myself. Also, I've moved all across the country. I mean, it's I've been all over the place. You know what I mean? I've had many different jobs. I've tried many different things, many different friends and experiences. So I'm very thankful for all of this. And then when I start thinking about that failure thing, I think to myself, hey, there's people who may have not done half of these things, or I've done more than most, and that's something to be proud of. So again, thinking 3 positive things when you think of one negative thing, it's going to really help you flip the script, and it's also going to help you train your mind so that way you're not feeling so um, negative all the time with intrusive thoughts, where if one comes in, now you have another one coming in, and now it's just stacking and stacking and stacking. It's a way to prevent that from happening, so that way at least you're not stacking negative thoughts. At least there's some positives in between there to sort things out and even things out. Number 2 is going to be change your atmosphere. That's something that works for me a lot. When I'm home, sometimes I'm feeling a little bit more lazy or something, and then that's where it's more quiet. So that's where sometimes intrusive thoughts come in. I try to change my atmosphere, so I'll go to the park sometimes to read. Right now, I'm at work where I film most of my videos. This is another place where I can come where I know it's quiet, and I can just kind of just get my thoughts out and do whatever I need to do. There's been times I've cried. There's been times where I've had conversations with customers. There's what I think that the key is to speak up, and to start noticing the things that trigger us, right? So like if it's our atmosphere, let's change our atmosphere and see if it changes our mood. And that's something that's personally worked for me. I go on walks. I'll just go on a drive and just blast some music, and it'll 10-15 minutes, and I'll go back home, and it'll really change the course of my day a lot of the time. um, our last tip for today is distance yourself from negative people. That's one of the biggest things that is sometimes hard to do, because sometimes the negative people in our lives are our family, our really close friends, or sometimes even our spouses, right? Or maybe even ourselves. That's kind of hard to admit sometimes, right? But it's difficult. It's difficult, but it's worthy. It's worth it, right? And just separating yourself from people who all they want to do is gossip and talk about things that are divisive. And I think that there's a time and a place for these things, but when you're dealing with mental illness, you want to make sure that you have people around you who are positive, people who are encouraging you to be the best who you can be, and people who don't make you feel bad about being yourself, because that's a big thing, right? That I've personally felt from people is people making me feel bad for having the spirit of a helper, right? Someone who's empathetic. I'm very I try to help people, and I've been accused of, oh, you think you're a therapist, and you think you're this, and you think you can help everyone, but you can't. And it's a scary thing to be told, because when you feel like you're out of control and you feel like you can't control your life, you try to help others control the bullshit in theirs. It's not that you're trying to control their life per se, but you find fixing other people's problems easier than tackling your own sometimes. And I actually think that it's not the worst trait to have, to reach out to someone and to try and be an attentive listener and try and give them solutions that I would use myself. And it hasn't always been taken the right way. But again, this is who I am. And separating myself from people who make me feel like I'm not enough, making me feel like I'm not going to get anywhere in life, or making me feel like my issues with bipolar are a burden. Those are people who, they might be good people, but they might not be good friends for me. And it's something that I've done actively, is to get myself away from people who just see things in that light, right? And just trying to surround myself around people who are more focused on the future, focused on bettering themselves and bettering their community and this environment and this world, as opposed to just me, and what so and so is doing. And it's really going to help your mental health to not have to store all this information about who Jessica's dating Brian, to the cousin, to this, and who said this and who said that. And it's so much. It's just information overload sometimes. And I can't take it sometimes. Sometimes I just start to cry. I just have to sit in my car and smoke a cigarette and pray to 17 different gods to just get me through the day. And it's difficult. It's something that it's not easy to do, but it's so worth it, because training your mind instead of letting your mind attack you is only going to benefit you, and it's going to prepare you for a journey, because this is what this is. This isn't a sprint, a quick sprint. This is a marathon, right? And we're running to be able to finish successfully, to finish healthy, because again, there's no cure for a lot of these things. There's remedies, but we have to live with this, right? So prepare yourself to be running for a while, right? There's going to be moments where we can celebrate and we can rest and we can have some water, and but we got to keep running and we got to keep going. So thank you for watching today's video. I actually want to leave you with a quote that I found very, very lovely. There was no, there was no author I guess you could say, for the quote. But it says, it's better to be an optimist who is sometimes wrong than a pessimist who is always right. And this is something that hit me pretty hard. It's better to just be positive. One thing that my mother tells me and has told me throughout my life is that a smile doesn't cost you anything, right? To smile at someone, to say good morning, to be kind. It doesn't cost you anything, but it's worth its weight in gold to the other person. You can change somebody's day, somebody's life, the direction, and where they were going to go, and you just don't know. You don't know. You don't know what someone's going through. You don't know what someone's battles are. Everyone's fighting a battle within themselves. That person who's rude to you, and you feel, oh my gosh, I have the right to snap back. So I know sometimes I'm like that, waiting for the one person who's gonna, give me a jab, and I'm ready to just finish them off. And it's like we can't go into it like that, right? We have to go into it humbly and trying to understand that that person might have just had a bad day. And it's not about us, right? It's more about that person than it is about us. So we have to be willing to listen. We have to be willing to help people. And being an optimist about it is the best way to go. Because if it doesn't work out, guess what? It didn't work out, right? If it does work out, great, even better. But if it doesn't, we're not it's not the end of the world, right? We're still positive. We're still thinking that things are going to work out for the best. And it doesn't hurt us to think positive. Now, again, it's not, let me emphasize that, don't be, head in the sky, just completely gullible, believing anything, let's say, or believing anything will happen. But again, being optimistic is a lot better than just being pessimistic. Pessimistic isn't going to get you anything. You're not even going to feel better if you say, oh, well, this isn't going to work out, and it doesn't work out. Do you feel better afterwards when you say, well, I knew it wasn't going to work out? No, you don't feel better. The person doesn't feel better. It's just not needed. But if it works out and you were the pessimist, now you got to sit there quiet, like looking around because you're the dumbass who was like, oh, well, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. And now it worked out. Everyone's having a good time. And now you got to sit there with the I'm wrong face, just angry. Everyone's having a good time, and you just, why? Because you were wrong, right? You decided to jump the script, right, and flip the script in the wrong way, right? You're flipping it the other way, right? Now we're reading backwards. We're in a whole nother situation. But anyway, thank you for watching today's video. I really appreciate you guys. If you'd like and subscribe, I'm gonna keep making videos like this, and we'll just keep it going. Have a good one, guys, and stay safe and keep your mental health first.